just wanna be free with my people to prosper and hold it down. Don't you sit and wait, contemplating on a revolution. The time is now. I just wanna be free. 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 Can't you see? I just wanna be free.
Okay. Another episode of the Things I Wish I Knew About Money podcast. I'm your host, Camille Smith, and golly, we are in Financial Literacy Month. We are in 201 episode, and what a month it has been so far. But I am not going to get into that. I am really blessed and honored to have this type of discussion happening during Financial Literacy Month. And me just want to bring a good friend of mine, neighbor and everything, to the stage. Welcome.
Big up, big up, big up, big up, big up.
Brr, brr, brr,
Cam,
brr.
thanks for having me. It's been a long time
How?
coming. I watch your episodes. I've taken all the financial gems that you drop. I've seen other people that I know feature on the pod as well. So I am very grateful that you invited me to come to the podcast today. So thanks for having me.
Of, of course. And we gotta welcome the folks. I gave you already the horn and everything, and I'm just really blessed to I should be wearing orange to come into the matrix and things.
I should be too. I should be too actually, but I digress.
But it's
I digress.
all good. It's all good. I just want the folks to, learn a little bit about you. And let the folks know who you are.
Yeah, for sure. So, full name, Tim Eccles or Timothy Eccles. You can find me in everywhere. I'm fully doxxed, right? So, entrepreneur, formerly used to be like a corporate banking guy working for the Bank of Montreal. So, used to work in the banking industry for nearly a
Oh.
decade. Went from credit
Mhm.
risk to business process improvement, and then into operational risk. So yeah,
Yeah.
so high level, head office kind of stuff, right? Got my business degree, PMP, Six Sigma, Lean, just kind of process engineering stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of like my history. And then left that career to go into entrepreneurship to launch my second music label. I can go into it a little bit later, but my second music label as an adult had another label when I was like 18, fresh out of high school. So I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time. Right. But yeah, music label, then got into film and TV production distribution, also got into importing and luxury spirits, champagne and cognac. Still have a consultant firm agency, kind of consulted on private equity and venture capital and mergers and acquisitions, things of that nature. And then, the past 4 years really focused on cryptocurrency and kind of everything about decentralized finance and the blockchain and tokenized digital assets, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll stop there. I think that was like under a minute and a half. So, boom.
No, the floor is yours. The floor is yours. However you want to introduce yourself is up to you, right? And dang, you are a jack of all trades, it seems.
Little bit. Yeah.
Because yeah, I feel like you were able to dabble into a lot of industries. And what made you actually dabble into the one that you're in mostly? Because it seems like you're more holistic than other entrepreneurs that I've talked to in a good while. And what was those loves that brought you to center into this one that you're in right now?
So now cryptocurrency, just because I'm thinking of the internet now. So said I'm not gonna age myself too much, but I don't care. Like I'm a millennial, right? So was able to
Whoop, whoop.
remember a time before the internet, right, and before cell phones and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff. And then kind of seeing the advent of the boom of the internet and Google and Yahoo and all those kind of things, but being young and not being able to capitalize on the ground floor to invest or to contribute to the architecture, so to speak, right? So now I'm seeing the second coming of this revolutionary technology, which is, fintech, or, cryptocurrency, blockchain, which is a financial technology, right? So
Mhm.
I'll use some terms today that kind of put it into perspective, because people can think of cryptocurrency that, oh, is it gambling? Is it a scam? Is it this and that? I'm like, no, it's financial technology, right? And a lot of companies specialize in fintech, right? So this is a fintech industry for, all intents and purposes. And then what got me into like decentralization is kind of, I saw the bureaucracy at the bank and all the red tape and all the things that you're trying to like improve the processes. You're trying to push through things even ahead of schedule. You're trying to do the right thing to improve the financial process for, customers and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, right? That's who the banks work for, those customers. When I started to see that, a lot of the higher ups at the bank wanted to slow things down. They didn't really want to solve some of the, the underlying issues to the framework of the financial system. Right?
Mm,
So I'll give
yeah.
you a quick example. Thinking about how the banks now adjudicate mortgages, right? Or give you, when they use something called, the bank was called CCAPs, right? It's an old DOS
Yes.
system, and it has all these GUI interfaces built on top of it. But when I see the back end, and they still would print out papers and use pens in the office I'm like, this is prehistoric. This is crazy to me. This is gonna
Ah,
crumble. Right? They
yeah.
have all these huge file cabinets and file rooms, and they're paying like 30 grand, 50 grand a month to Iron Mountain to destroy files from 20 years ago. This is how the bank operates.
Mm,
So me being a young guy in my 20s, seeing this, I'm like, this is not sustainable, right?
yeah.
So that's kind of what led me into the path of like cryptocurrency, decentralization, and decentralized finance, and ultimately.
And there's something that you actually said that was interesting, because you're like, as a millennial, because I'm a millennial as well,
Okay.
we noticed that when it came to the wave of the internet, or the tech bubble, we were too young. Maybe I was a little bit more, but
Mm-hmm.
we were too young to actually be able to capture, or what's the word, maximize on that, right? And I
Exactly.
feel like now with fintech, like you mentioned, this is another stage or wave that we're able to actually get in at the
And
right time
participate. And participate.
and
That's the other
participate.
thing.
Yes.
I'll
Hmm.
elaborate on that in a second too.
Yeah.
Or like
So
I get
like
yeah.
yeah, absolutely, because
Or no, you go
I
first.
just
Finish your
love
thought, and
how
I'll
you
jump in.
mentioned that, because that's something. So no, I was just wondering, like, when it comes to that, like the wave, especially as millennials, and maybe even I'll help out the older folks too. How are we able to, I don't want to say convince, or what's the right angle on telling folks, hey, this is the second wave. We missed the first wave.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a possibility you want to actually take into this matrix and get in while you fit in, right?
So here's the easiest way, and I haven't really heard many people simplify it this way, but it kind of dawned on me as I was kind of like prepping for this pod. Most people
Yeah.
bank with multiple institutions, right? Most people have more than one bank.
Yeah.
You have TD, you have
Yeah.
and I'm talking, so we're in Canada, right? In America, you have Wells Fargo,
Mhm.
you have JP Morgan, whatever you have. Most people, and I think I saw like a
Exactly.
survey, bank with 2 or 3 institutions to have
Okay.
options,
True.
right? The average person,
Guilty.
right? This is
Yeah.
just an additional option to manage your finance, but you're your own custodian, right? So you can
Okay.
decide, not, I can say decide because there's fees just like anywhere else, but you can
Mm.
kind of do more with your money. You can't go to the bank and say, hey, I have 100 grand in the bank. I want to loan it to somebody else and charge them 10%. The bank was like, hold up, you can't loan your own money to somebody else. You take your cash out and
Yeah.
give it to somebody and you do it privately, right? But the bank, if you're going to do it in like a system and have a ledger to track it, to keep
Yeah.
track of it, and have dates and times where the money went, whatever, the bank won't allow you to do that. With decentralized finance, you can
Yeah.
then be your own custodian and say, hey, I want to loan out my Bitcoin, charge X amount, XYZ points on it for a certain amount of time to people to try to bullet trade or leverage trade, whatever they want to do with it, right? I don't care, because and you can take collateral too. You take collateral from many different ways. You can say, hey, I'll take other assets as collateral. I'll take, you can take physical assets, because there's RWAs called real world assets that are now on chain as well. And you can also use that as collateral. So it gives you so many more options with how to really utilize your money and make your money work for you.
And that is the key, especially, during Financial Literacy Month. That's one thing that we definitely want to learn different ways. So, let's tell the folks how you got your feet wet, because I think there's going to be folks, and you even introduced me to something the other day. I still have it on my laptop. I was like, ooh,
Good,
when I have
good.
time to
Okay.
research, man, we're going to dive in, right? I guess the beginning stage was learning about Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is always the gateway. Yeah, Bitcoin is the gateway drug, the orange pill, right? The orange pill. So when you understand Bitcoin, the orange pill, and you read the white paper, for example, the white paper is kind of like the technological specs of how the token works and the framework and tokenomics and all those kind of things of why it exists, and kind of, and understanding the proof of work of, this is how we can verify the currency, and also, give it a tangible value set that people can understand, right? That's also not controlled by a centralized entity. It's peer-to-peer. So think about back in the day again, and I grew up on the internet, like grew up before, but also I was like I was like,
we're hybrid.
Say it again?
We're hybrid.
Yeah, I'm a hybrid, right? So I was still I was in elementary school when I started using the internet. So like grade 4, grade 5, I started using the internet, right? So I was able to be involved with things called like MIRC and FTPs that were peer-to-peer, right? And if you remember BitTorrent, right? Think of the term BitTorrent, where you used to get like movies and things like that. That's peer-to-peer. Similar technology to what's utilized in cryptography, right? And that's why Bitcoin is why bit is in the word as well, right? Because it's peer-to-peer, like a BitTorrent. So if you understand that lineage of kind of like the decentralization of sharing information and files, right? That's kind of how Bitcoin came about as well. So, okay, how can we do this? Okay, we do it with files, music, movies, whatever you do it with games. How can we do this with finance? That was the eureka moment, right? And there's older, there's I think I forget his name. I think his name is Joe Looney and Hal Finney and all these guys, right? And Satoshi Nakamoto, but all these people that were involved in Bitcoin very early, and they've been involved in cryptography from like the 80s. So they've been working on this concept for a long time, and it wasn't until 2009 is when the concept became, they had the technology and they had enough, pieces now, and it made sense. Like they're like mathematician PhDs, right? So they now figured out, how can we now implement this in a system? And we have faster internet, we have powerful computers, GPUs, all these things, how it first started. Now you need like a very specific type of miner called an ASIC miner with hash rate, et cetera, to mine Bitcoin. You can't just use your regular desktop anymore, right? But in the early days, you could. And be peer-to-peer.
Understood. Okay.
So okay, the piece I'm missing.
High level.
High level. So let me bring it back and give you how did I get in? So I got into Bitcoin in 2016. So now I have my music label. I'm traveling around the world, all that kind of stuff. And a friend was telling me about it, right? And told me about it probably 2013. And he was a Forex guy. He was big into Forex, right? And I put some money with him, and he traded some Forex because I wasn't really a trader like that. So when I seen how he multiplied the money, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Good investment. He's like, hey, the next thing though, Bitcoin, decentralized currency. That's the next thing. And so they're kind of telling me about it. And I was like, yeah, it sounds cool. I understand it, but I'm focused on the music business. I'm focused on all the other things I was doing, right? And then I kind of burst it off. So then, 3 years later now, so 2016, he's like, hey, man, I'm really getting into this thing. I think people in your industry, entertainment and stuff, may want an alternative way to transact, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
When it kind of, I'm like, oh, yeah. And then once again, I didn't get to digital tokenized assets or TDA. I didn't get to TDAs yet. This is just Bitcoin for me, right?
Yeah.
And then I got involved then, right? And then I would get in, buy Bitcoin, hold some. But then, this is low. Bitcoin is like $5,000, $10,000, 15 grand. It was very early, right? 20 grand. It was early. I'm saying Canadian price. So USD was even cheaper, like $3,000 USD, whatever it was, right? It was way cheaper. Today it's 76,000, right?
I know it skyrocketed this week.
Yeah, all-time high.
We
We can
all
talk
know
about
why.
that in a bit too. I know we don't have that much time, but yeah. So that's how I got in 2016, buying it myself, holding it, and then I would trade it as well, because now there's people in IRL that want to get their hand on BTC and they have ledgers, and because in Canada a lot of exchanges don't interact, or the banks don't like to interact with cryptocurrency. So certain banks, so you'll get issues.
Why? So sorry.
Well, there's a lot of bureaucracy there. There's a lot of bureaucracy there, to be honest, right? And I won't get into all the semantics of it, but it's challenging the status quo. It's challenging. Remember, Canada has 5 banks.
True.
It's not like how
not like the States.
Yeah. You have enough money, you can have your own private bank. Canada will not allow you. It's like, you can't have your own phone service. You can't have your own internet. Like it's a monopoly. Same thing with liquor. Same thing. Look how they license medicinal marijuana, right? It's a monopoly. Canada operates these things that are like a monopoly. And if it's not controlled by the government, like wholeheartedly, they don't want it. Exactly, right? But there are financial companies here, or cryptocurrency companies that are regulated by the government. And they have those financial licenses the banks have. They have something very similar, so they can offer certain very niche and very specific cryptocurrency services. Like they can only offer Bitcoin and Ethereum. They can't offer the other ones because those ones are so volatile, they're risky, and we'll get into that later on, but I digress. So 2016, I got it.
So 2016, okay. And this is a fun fact that I know about you. So you're telling me, so you worked at the bank, and then 2013 you heard about Bitcoin.
Well, before that I heard, but my friend really started pushing it to me in 2013.
Yeah, like 2013. However, me don't understand, sir. So you don't dabble into the regular stock market?
So I looked at it when I was working at the bank, and I looked at it too when I was kind of having my friend invest like via Forex trading, but I never really got into stocks myself personally, even though like I watch CNBC religiously and I'm studying stocks because those markets affect everything else that I'm involved in, right? And even when I was doing private equity and mergers and acquisitions, I would watch what's going on in the stock market because that would give me insight to how to structure a merger. Okay, medicinal marijuana companies, and I was watching, all those like Canopy and all those companies that were on the stock market. Okay, what are their stock price? And then, but I couldn't understand what is their business practice that makes their stock valuable. That's what I studied the stock market for that, to understand the business structure behind why the company did an IPO.
Okay. I understand that concept, and I think that's very ideal because, like, look at what happened this week, right? Unfortunately, we know who won and stuff, but
for sure.
The stock market was looking sweet. I wasn't really mad, right?
Exactly.
But like, I think what a lot of things that folks, especially millennials or younger folks that don't have a better understanding, is they don't understand the business structure. And I think that's really ideal when it comes to someone being an entrepreneur. So what, and this is a thought that I thought of, what made you change your mindset into thinking like that, so you're able to understand? Because obviously when we see like different businesses and they've gone public or the IPO, that is a great way to see how a business is structured. So what made you, or how did you come up with that idea, or your upkeeping and stuff?
So when I got into private equity, and and I was I was brokering these deals, and I said, okay, I need to understand the value proposition behind somebody saying, I'm trying to sell this medicinal marijuana company, or sell this entertainment company, or sell this media company, or sell this commercial real estate, just to understand how they got to those valuations, right? So I said, okay, there's got to be more to it. And then I said, okay, I have to understand why people are value in this particular business in this industry. And when I look at pitch decks, they always say, hey, the industry is a $5 trillion industry. That's based on not even just the revenue of what they sell, based on the value of the stock market and the shares and that kind of stuff. And they would value themselves in, proportionate to what their competitors were, valued at in the stock market. So that's what really made me start paying attention to the stock market. But also myself, like I had, at the time I was an exempt market dealer, had a special license. So I could get involved in private placements as well. So rather than
what is that? Wow. Private placements?
Yeah. So a company, it's a private company, so it's not public. And they say, hey, we're trying to raise capital and we do want accredited investors that can invest, but you don't have to be fully accredited. You can, have this special exempt market dealer, things. So I can also offer this to certain people. Right.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, this is more attractive to me than the stock market because I can actually get direct equity in a business in this industry. And that's how I really started to dabble into consulting. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to broker a deal as well, there's value here. Can I also invest? So if I'm brokering the deal for you guys, can I also invest? I would do that. So direct into a business versus just buying the shares on the open market. That was my strategy.
Okay. And not that I'm trying to put your business out and everything, but I believe that's how you started or got to be the co-owner for Rare Labs. Am I correct?
So Rare Labs is very similar. So it's a tokenized digital asset company or digital collectibles, NFTs. They're all the same thing, right? And I was an art collector, right? So just collecting art on the blockchain kind of thing. Digital artifacts is what we call them, right? Just like you would collect a comic book or a basketball card or a rare sneaker or a watch or a
big up Archie comics.
Yeah, you got an Archie comic and all that, or even a vintage car, or you buy a Mona Lisa, or all these kind of things. But this is now tokenized on the blockchain, so you can see the proof of authentication and who's owned it before you. If you're the first owner, did you mint it on the blockchain for all these kind of things, right? And that to me, that technology can be utilized in so many other ways. Like you can use it in healthcare, use it in real estate, use it in agriculture, use it in mining. You can use it in so many different industries to make it more optimized and more transparent and even just ease of use and automate it more so. So that ties into AI in a sense too, but the blockchain helps to, automate a lot of things because it's very transparent. I need to know, when this crop left this farm, put on the blockchain. Here's the first point. Second point, it now got to the manufacturing plant where they washed all the product. That's how you can use it in that supply chain management aspect as well. And people are not really thinking about it that way. That's how I saw it as well, just outside of just the digital collectible side of it.
So, because I think I skipped a beat, but
no problem.
When it came to so you're introduced to Bitcoin 2013, but finally dabbled into it 2016. And then you've seen how like you're able to maneuver this. And then also at the same time, the private placement.
So, okay, can I talk? So the private placement, private equity landed me into another phase before I really jumped into crypto was ICO. Independent coin offering. So they're like an IPO, right? But they were for tokens, for crypto tokens.
ICO?
So, ICOs, and that was the craze from 2017 to 2019. So I started to get into that heavily. So that was Bitcoin was first, and then ICOs. I didn't, I would dabble into Ethereum here and there, but ICOs was a big thing for me for those 2 years before COVID, actually, right? And ICOs had so many interesting use cases, but the ones that were kind of there was a layer of regulation there where you had to get like the SEC had to give you like an addendum and had to comply with the act. And for what it was, I used to look at it all the time, but I had to comply with the SEC to be able to offer an ICO. So it was completely legal. You have to be accredited investors, all these kind of things, right? So a lot of ICOs came out during that time. If you think about Telegram was an ICO that raised like I think a few $1 billion. Like a lot of companies launched in the ICO phase that are still here today, right? But then a lot of scams started to come because the regulation layer, if you're in other countries, didn't really have to adhere to the SEC if you weren't in North America per se. So people started launching all these different tokens on different blockchains, like on Binance and all these kind of things. And they ended up being rug pulls. And that kind of killed the ICO era that had good intentions in the very beginning, that had actually really sophisticated business applications. For example, I'll give you one for example, because now I'm off the NDA, whatever, so I talk about it. It was an actual physical gold mine linked to a cryptocurrency. So the token was actually physically backed by the gold that they owned and mined. I won't say the country that they're mining gold in. So when I see that, I'm like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. Another one that I was involved in was, once again, a cryptocurrency tied to physical commercial real estate that they owned all over the world, Dubai, Europe, America, Canada, Asia, and it was backed by the value of the commercial real estate. And then they had mines, they had like cryptocurrency mining facilities that also were tied into that entire ecosystem. So those tokens made a lot of sense to me.
Shucks. And when it comes to so now I'm trying to wrap my head around these terminologies. So the ICO is similar to an IPO.
Very similar, yes.
Okay. And then the mining of the tokens is kind of similar to the blockchain.
So your camera kind of froze, so I missed the first part of that question.
So the gold mining of the tokens from different places is kind of together with the blockchain.
Yes, so it was tied. So like the one I'm talking about, that company, they created a process and a token matrix and valued the token based on, and they would mine that token. So they had like a proof of work framework. This is how Bitcoin is also mined, is via proof of work versus proof of stake. And I can talk about that later on too. So proof of work, but their proof of work was like a next layer because it was actually backed by gold.
Proof of work. And okay, so I like that phrase, proof of work. And this is for the slow people like myself. Not slow, but just like trying to make a comparison.
Got you.
How could you compare that to maybe a business or the stocks, so people will be able to understand it?
So it's not really comparable, to be honest, right? That's why it's such a prolific industry, because I can't really compare the technology to anything else, to be honest with you, right?
That's how advanced it is.
That's how advanced it is, exactly. But also the adoption of it is very similar to the adoption of the internet in 1997. So that's the comparison I can make. It's just the adoption of it, but the sophistication and the value proposition of it, to me, is nothing else that really compares, because everything else kind of offers you a product or a service. This is offering you kind of a product and a service, but you are involved in the product and service kind of thing, if I put it that way, right?
Okay.
So let me give you this other thing. So the other layer, there's something called Web3. So crypto is a part of Web3, right? So Web 1 is kind of you just read information. Web 1 is the first version of the internet, right? You go on a website, you read text, you just read information. Web 2, which is the hybrid where social media comes in: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Black Planet, MySpace. That's a web. YouTube. That's Web 2, where you can.
Tim, you're aging us. You're aging us. Black Planet.
Millennials. But Web 2 is now when the people can participate in the internet and the content that is on the internet. The memification of the industry. So memes kind of came out during Web 2. Even though memes existed before, but memes became like a language during Web 2, right?
Yes.
Web 3 now, you can participate, create, and own at the same time. Because when you go on these platforms, you don't really own your content. You don't really own, you're using a service. It's a centralized service. Whereas so now with blockchain and decentralization, all of the Web 2 things, they have a solution for it in Web 3 that's decentralized, that you actually own your content and own the things that you create. like 100%, you know, like indefinitely. Here's the other piece that got me into it. So music business, right?
Yes.
You know, when you put your music on iTunes or Spotify and all this kind of stuff, this is what really opened my mind as well.
Yeah.
So with my second label, we had asked iTunes to give us our customer information so that we knew who was buying the record, who bought the album, all kind of stuff. So we can contact them directly, offer them free tour tickets, offer them free merch, offer them other things that we had developed for the fans.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We're not giving you the information. And it wasn't even our idea. People like Ryan Leslie and Nipsey Hussle were doing this first.
Yeah.
Direct to consumer, cutting out the middleman, right? So when I saw that, Apple's like, nah, we can't. You know, you signed this, and when you signed up for the service, and you gave us the license to what's it called, to promote your music or to
do so.
Give us full control of keeping your information, and we decide if we want to release it to you or not, and we don't want to give it to you.
That's wild.
Like, oh, okay,
that's
cool.
Wild. So
what we did, we actually took all the music off of iTunes and Spotify. Said, if you want the album, come directly to us. Come to our website, buy it from us directly, right? Versus getting it from iTunes. It was risky at the time, but we saw a couple people do it. Like Nipsey also did this, and so did Ryan Leslie. So okay, we know these two artists that are pretty successful did it. Let's try it ourselves. And it worked out for us. So people came to our website and they would buy stuff directly from us. So we know exactly who bought our music, where they're from, demographic, ethnicity, gender, everything, age. We knew everything, right? We would have like before you bought the album and the products from us, you enter your information so we can get in contact with you, right? And kind of say, okay, it's your birthday. You know, we're going to be in this city performing. Here's a complimentary ticket because you spent $100 with us. Boom, right? So the model. This is before me jumping into decentralization.
Yeah.
Now with decentralization, I'm like, now I can see how it all makes sense to have ownership and be able to offer people stuff directly, offer your fans, your collectors, your supporters things directly and for free, just for holding a token and for being a supporter. Hey, I know who you are. I'm giving this to you for free. Here's an airdrop. Here's whatever it may be, right?
Yeah. And I think that is grand because it makes the person feel nice. You know, they're like, okay, I get a little gift. And I think it's really important. I'm glad you mentioned that because now it's like for entrepreneurs, magician, artists, and even like any type of artist, they should look at ways to own it because you never know what's gonna happen with iTunes. I ain't gonna mention these people because I'm very fortunate we're here. But like they could just take it like a drop of a dime. But now that you're able to be independent and able to do it yourself, then it makes more sense because you have more control because you have access.
You got it.
And then I guess that's the reason why you totally went head speed into the orange pill. He's like, you know what? Bun the red pill, bun the blue pill.
Yep.
I'm gonna take this orange one. Boom.
You got it. That's it, right? So, and I guess I've been, universe doesn't make mistakes. Divine intervention, serendipity. So I started off in banking, working at the head office, seeing the back end of the financial system. So I was already groomed to kind of like understand that. And I knew, I'm like, guys, why are we doing? And I asked, why do you guys do it this way? I'm 20 years old in the bank. I'm like, why are we doing it this way? Why is there a fax machine faxing me a piece of paper to give somebody a mortgage? I got to go and I got to take it, manually put it into the computer and then send it to the branch over there. And I'm like, this is a crazy process. This makes no sense to me. And say somebody for one day made a mistake on that adjudication paperwork, right?
Done deal.
Done deal, right? So So I was orange pilled unknowingly from early on.
Yeah, because you always wanted like, and sad to say, because I can, you know what? It just made me think about going to Jamaica and going to the bank.
Yeah.
I hear the trials and tribulations.
Right? Your bank book and writing your bank book. What the? It makes no sense to me.
But at least slowly but surely, people are getting into that. So trying to see something. Even though you know, we do need to build up for the technology so it'll be a faster process. However, what are some pros and cons that you've experienced being in the Web3?
Pros and cons. So pros, once again, it's 24/7, 24/8. It doesn't turn off. It doesn't, but that's the pro. The con that goes
Yes.
right hand in hand with it, it's dangerous because you make a mistake, you can't call the bank and say, hey, I sent this transaction, or my credit card got hacked or scammed. Can you refund me my money? Bank goes, yeah, we'll refund you the money. Cryptocurrency, when you're your own custodian, you make the wrong transaction, the money's gone, right? You send it to the wrong address, the money's gone. You're not getting it back. There's no customer service to call unless you deal with decentralized exchanges like Coinbase or Binance or ShakePay or Crypto.com. There's a layer where they kind of operate like a bank in a sense,
Okay.
but they still give you enough control where you don't have to call them to say, I need to do a wire. You just do it yourself.
Okay.
Whereas the
Okay.
bank,
So would you
go
yeah.
ahead.
Would you recommend, obviously beginners,
Mhm.
and people that have a better understanding, to stick with Binance and ShakePay and those type of things, or
100%. Like, ideally, I'm for, so here's the moniker: not
yeah.
your keys, not your crypto. So if you don't own your own seed phrase, and look what happened with FTX, right? When the exchange 20, they said it was the biggest financial crime, larger than Bernie Madoff. And this happened in a time frame of like 4 years or less. So Bernie Madoff did this for 30 years, right? He stole all those billions for 30 years. This guy, SPF, did it in like 4 years. And it was the biggest financial crime, bigger than Bernie Madoff, right? And
And
that's an
just for
exchange
the folks that don't know the story, could you give a quick story of it?
of FTX.
Mm.
Yes, it was a centralized exchange like Binance, like
Yeah.
Coinbase. They're actually rivaling. They were number 3, right? It was Binance, Coinbase, FTX.
Okay.
Right? They had every endorsement from every sports league to every celebrity and everybody. It was a big deal, right? So everybody trusted them, and they would put the money there, and then they would get yield, native yield, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
And a lot of things were too good to be true, right? This is my opinion. People ask me, I never put any money in FTX personally, and I don't really mess with too many centralized exchanges personally, right? Only a few that I do mess with, and I can recommend ShakePay, I can recommend Crypto.com, Binance and Coinbase for sure, right? There's other ones,
Yeah.
there's Newton, there's Kraken, there's a bunch, right?
Yeah.
Other ones in different countries, Bitmart, there's Mexi, there's a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
But when you see FTX crumble, go like belly up, hey, everybody, your money's gone. We don't your deposits are not matched. Like, all the money you had with us is up in smoke.
That's wild. And that's
But they did what's it called? They did recover some funds, because I think there was
really
a huge stockpile of Bitcoin that was in a wallet that was linked to SPF. So the past 6 months or so, they have been issuing refunds to certain customers.
okay. But how much?
I don't know the numbers. I don't know the
Okay.
numbers.
Fair.
I've
Fair. Fair.
seen different articles about it, but I don't know the numbers right now.
Yeah. Because
I
it's
think they
like,
recovered maybe $1 billion worth. They've recovered, maybe. Don't quote me though. Don't quote me.
because remember, if something belly ups in the stock market, no, not stock market. Sorry, not the stock market. If something belly ups in your checking,
Mm-hmm.
you're protected 100,000, right?
Exactly.
But to lose, I see that post. I'm pretty sure I sent it to you. That post where someone stole, or someone recovered. I'll say
Mm-hmm.
recovered.
Okay.
I want to say 5 million or
Okay.
250 million,
Okay.
and they just made it rain. They just did some stupid ish and got caught and stuff. I feel like I sent it to you, and it's just like, that is a con when it comes to Web3 or crypto, and
100%.
how are we able to protect ourselves from that for the most part?
Knowledge, they say, don't trust, verify, Do your own research. These are all things that you hear in cryptocurrency, right? So to protect yourself is and don't rush. Like don't FOMO. Don't have the fear of missing out kind of thing. Because everybody does that. They want to catch the pump that people started after the election, started to run after Bitcoin, right? And buying the tops and whatever, buying everything they could. Hey, I don't want to miss this boat. Sometimes you have to, but crypto does move fast, right? So you have to kind of sometimes, but there's a lot of things that, and I wouldn't recommend all these meme coins and things that are pumping right now. I wouldn't recommend them to anybody personally. What I always recommend is Bitcoin above all, just dollar cost average into Bitcoin, right? And hopefully you get to a point of holding one whole Bitcoin, right? Aspire to that, right? And then the other one I also can wholeheartedly recommend is Ethereum, right? Because Ethereum is like the evolution of what you can do with the blockchain. You can use smart contracts and embed all these different functions into the smart contract on the blockchain that can run autonomously right now. Like, so it's a lot of things you can, so it kind of took Bitcoin's kind of like code and framework and said, okay, how can we adapt this and make it, do more things with it? And up until recently, you can do certain things with Bitcoin now as well. There's things called ordinals, there's things called BRC20s and runes. That's a deep dive. I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part 2 or something to get this deep thing,
I can go deep into it, right? But yeah, so you can now do certain things on the Bitcoin protocol, but it's still kind of a very surface level. Like it's not as robust as things you can build on Ethereum right now. And Ethereum is more the builder's chain. Bitcoin is the store of value chain more than anything. And Ethereum is like the builder's chain to build actual things on that can be, implemented and actually sustained long term, et cetera, et cetera.
Like a different type of infrastructure.
You got it. Yeah.
Watch, I see, guys. I'm learning. I'm like,
quick
the orange pill,
Yeah, you got the orange soda. What do you mean orange soda? Go. All the way.
Not today. I'm detoxing and stuff.
Okay.
Well, there's people in the chat. Greetings. Big up Frequency Event Promotions. Big up. He's asking what the topic is, but obviously he's hearing it, and he's hey, Black Planet doesn't exist still, but if we remember to relate with like the other social media and things. And he also had a question or a statement: persons that I know have gained funds from crypto but have lost fast, hence why
That's
I'm doubtful.
Also very true though. But those are like the meme coins and all the other altcoins that you didn't do your research. Yeah, you saw it on crypto.com or you saw it on Binance, you saw it pop up on an exchange or Wealth Simple, what's the other one called? Robinhood. You saw it on those things. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna go buy Shiba Inu. I'm gonna go buy Doge. I'm gonna go buy I forget all the other ones that come out. Doge, Elon to Mars. I'm gonna buy Safe Moon. I'm gonna buy all these ones that don't
like right? Like listen to those dang words and you just know. What were you thinking?
But here's the thing. I can't throw shit on Shiba Inu or Doge because Doge actually built their own blockchain. So Dogecoin has its own blockchain, and Shiba Inu actually has this really sophisticated infrastructure. So they were first initially just meme coins, but then because they saw so many people, like there's a use case that can be utilized. And once again, cryptocurrency makes money very accessible in other countries. Very accessible, where there's a lot of corrupt financial systems and a lot of impoverished countries. See what's going on with Israel and Gaza and Venezuela and all these places, right? So cryptocurrency makes things a little bit easier to transact, right? And that's the purpose of Bitcoin is also the freedom to transact, right?
True, because you're able to
anywhere. And there's nobody telling you can't do this. Whereas you go to the bank and say, I want to send money here or there, I want to do this. A lot of times they'll tell you, no, you can't do this, or we're not going to accept this, or there's a delay for this, or we have to cancel your transaction because of X, Y, Z. It's happened to me, right? Even me being in the liquor business, right? And having to wire money to the vineyard in Epernay, France. Sorry, Mr. Eccles, the transfer can't go through because the SWIFT, the IBAN number was blah, 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 or something, right? Something or other. Hey, you have to take the transaction to another bank. We're not going to support these transactions. And that stuff happens.
Yeah. Wow.
Look at Kanye, for example, right? Kanye said some stuff on a podcast. goes to the bank the following week, and the bank goes, "Hey, thanks for your service. Take all your money out of the bank. You're no longer a customer of ours." Just like that.
That's
Just
wild.
like that.
That's wild.
That's wild.
Because
That's crazy to me.
because you don't, and now I see why it's more beneficial, because well, again, we go back to ownership, right?
Yeah,
We want to be able to have access to our own money. Like, to me, I think it's wild that the bank charges me to hold my money. So I always try to go like to the low fee or no fee type of banks, just to
for
be
sure.
able to. I don't want you to, or they say, oh well, if you save $3,000 with us, we'll bring it down to zero. Nah, fam.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on, right? But if now that you have the access in the crypto world, to not be what's the word, restricted. I think
Exactly.
that's the thing. No one wants to be restricted, right?
And it's what it's more about. It's more having the freedom of choice and having options, right? Like, I'm
Yeah,
not saying it's gonna fully replace the financial, because financial is how many years old, like hundreds of years old, and the barter
exactly.
system before the paper money and the gold standard before the current, no, there's nothing back in the dollar. They print money out of thin air. There's been so many different iterations of money, right? Cryptocurrency is not gonna like essentially replace it, anytime soon.
No,
It's gonna be kind of coincided hand in hand with that market, right? But it'll be a layer that you can choose to use entirely if you want, and
yeah,
not have to rely on the banking system if you don't want to anymore. Now you have an
exactly.
option.
And there's a question. I have two questions because manure time is of an essence. They say over crypto, the best ways to guarantee money is real estate. How would you combat with this statement with your belief in crypto?
So great question. And real estate to me, and I'll just use Bitcoin, right?
Okay.
Bitcoin to me is like gold. Gold is
Okay.
similar to real estate in a sense, right? The value is kind of
Yes.
stabilized, all that kind of stuff, right?
Hmm.
Every other cryptocurrency has not proven themselves to be the best store of value. I'll just be very
Store of
transparent
value.
about that, right?
Hmm.
So you can't paint the entire cryptocurrency industry with the same pedigree that Bitcoin has. Bitcoin is still leaps and bounds ahead of every other cryptocurrency,
Got
right?
it.
If you're looking for a store of value, right?
I
And
like
whether
that, store of value.
in real
That's the
estate,
best concept.
Bitcoin is, and look what President Trump's going to say he's going to do. He's going to the reserve is going to start buying Bitcoin. The financial reserve is going to start buying Bitcoin,
We did talk about that offline before.
right? That's going to start happening as soon as he's inaugurated. They're going to start buying Bitcoin. This is not financial advice. They're going to start the reserve. The financial reserve is going to start buying Bitcoin up to a certain price point, probably up
Mm,
in, remember, not financial advice, up
of course,
to
we're just
the
having a
value. We're
conversation.
just having a conversation. Up to the value of $200,000 USD, the reserve will probably buy Bitcoin up until that point. Once the price hits there, you know what could happen. They could crash it, this and that. They could, what they're going to try to do, because they're going to try to amass as much as they can,
Absolutely, absolutely. And
right?
we know how Trump is. He's a businessman, so
It's
there's
a
always
business.
a way. Okay, okay. So there's that was a great question, actually.
It was.
What damn, I can't
But
even
here,
find the
to
question
add to
I have to
that,
say.
I'm
Yes.
not saying to get out of your real estate position. I'm not saying to dump your Nvidia
Mm.
stock. I'm not saying to dump your Tesla stock or anything.
No,
Open AI. Have a diversified portfolio. Like me, I'm diversified across the board, and I've always been a diverse. Even with all my other, yeah, diversification is key, right? So have some real estate, have some crypto, have some stocks, have some private equity placement. Like have a diverse range of investment vehicles.
absolutely. I love she actually I did a post about that last night. That's the only way we're gonna be able to manage how the economy is doing, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Um, and damn, I know. So I'm so cheese, but it's my fault. It's my fault with timing. But what
We'll
are
do a part
three
two.
things?
We're
Huh?
gonna do a part two for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this has to be a part two
Yeah,
because there's so many other questions I have just for folks to actually be able to have stocks, have crypto, have real estate, have cash.
yeah,
Because people love to have it under their
yeah.
mattress and
Have
things.
some gold, right? Like all
Gold.
that kind of stuff. And there's a next level. Like, if you get your hands on Bonnie Light, and that's the next level. Jet fuel, like, and there's people I know that actually have their hands on that kind of stuff. Like people that are uber wealthy,
Yeah.
they have commodities. Like they don't play around, right? There's guys I know that have Bonnie Light, like oil and jet fuel, and that's part of their diversification. And then they broker deals and they sell it if they need to get liquid, right? And they,
Yeah.
sell it at a certain price plus a premium, and pay broker fees in between, whatever they got to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, my thing just got blurry, but we're all focused on you, so it
I can
don't
still see
matter.
those. I can still see
Yeah,
you.
I'm a little blurry. Don't worry, my vision's not blurry. It's just my
I thought my
camera.
contact fell out or something. I said, did my contact fall out?
But what are 3 things you wish you knew about money back in the day when you were a younger youth? You know?
Yeah. So right away, I wish I knew how to leverage. No, the first one. I wish I knew about investing. I didn't really like. I understood it. 'Cause I would invest in my own business, but I didn't know about like
Mm.
investing into like other financial products at a young age.
Mhm.
Right? I That's number one. I wish I understand how to leverage money to make me more money at a young age. Even though I kind of did it. Like I said, okay, when I was young, I used to sell, as a DJ and stuff, and sell CDs, right? So the money I would make, invest into a better printer, color printer, invest into a CD burner stacker, invest into a faster internet connection. Like, so I understood that, so I can invest in my business to sell more products. But
True.
I'm investing into like, hey, how can I leverage getting because a mortgage is the cheapest loan you'll get, pretty much, right?
True.
How
Yeah.
can I get a mortgage at a
Or
very
student
young
loan.
age? Say it again?
Or student loan.
Or student loan, but you can't leverage that, right? You can't really,
True.
that goes to the school. Mortgage, though, you can leverage the mortgage,
Mhm.
homeowner lines of credit, do other things, take that HOLC, whatever, HOLC, and
Yeah.
then put it into
HELOC.
another property and grow
Mhm.
your real estate portfolio. I wish I understood how to do that at a young age.
Yeah. And
Right
that's
away.
even something that folks still don't get the understanding, right?
Yeah.
We'll definitely want to do that. And third one.
Third one. I wish at a younger age, I used to like nice things and nice cars and jewelry and things like that. I wish at a young age I was really more focused on versus splurging, like, living beneath your means. And because, we grew up in a certain culture. I grew up in the hip hop culture, and, as a youth, and certain things, you're very impressionable. You want these things that, you think will make you happy, you think kind of, fulfill you. And I said, okay, I wish I started investing, like really investing into assets at a younger age, right? And I say assets, car's not an asset. If you get a certain vintage car, yeah, sneakers are not an asset. Like if your iPhone's not an asset. Like these things are not assets, right? These are nice to have, right? Thank you.
Tell them again.
I wish I really
Tell them
understood what
again.
an asset was, because I went and bought a car at a young age and got a line of credit to buy a car. I'm like, why did I do that? Right? Like, even though it's cheaper than getting a loan from the actual dealership, right?
True.
So that was smart, but I'm like, I should have bought a cheaper car for cash, right?
Yeah.
And then use all that credit to make more money versus putting all that money towards a car, right? But when you're young, I'm like, oh yeah, car's an asset because the bank calls it an asset.
Exactly. And that's how the banks do it, right?
They collateralize it, right? The car's not an asset, but they make it an asset, and then it depreciates on you. It's not really an asset then.
Exactly. Jeez. See, Tim, I'm cheese.
So these are things I wish I knew when I was younger.
Right? And those are really, really valuable. Watch frequency event promotions. But send invoice. Don't send the invoice. It's gonna bounce back. But see, bomb. This is what we do here. This is what we do. And I do want to respect your time, because there's folks that we know that are very particular.
100%. Not naming any names. Not naming any names.
Yeah. But Tim, tell the folks where they can find you so that they'll be able to, follow
connect
you
with
up
me and
and
everything.
things.
Yeah, and my
And I
DMs
will.
are open and everything. But yeah, so my handle is just CEOTim on every social media. So Instagram, X/Twitter, TikTok. What else is out there? I'm CEOTim on everything. And then like
Okay.
my landing page website. That's it's a business information website that I built back in 2008 with a former partner of mine as a repository for people that are entrepreneurs or young professionals and want to just go search about investing, search about a business plan, search about anything to do with business essentially. So my torontoismine.com website, that I've had that since 2008. So that's a 16-year-old business
Woo!
now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's been there for forever, right? So yeah, so that's what,
Yeah.
and just the same, the email's tim@torontoismine.com.
So I'll definitely put that in the show notes and things. And I'm sad that I couldn't make the dinner because I'm doing a detox. So
Yeah.
I'm just doing liquid, but it's all good. It's all good. But I appreciate you, Tim. We're definitely going to do a part two
Oh, for
because
sure.
there's just so much that I feel like people need to know. And this is what happens when it's Financial Literacy Month. We got to know all the other ideas, assets, criterias when it comes to personal finance, right?
You got it. You got it.
So
Well,
bless
Cam,
up.
thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate this conversation. I hope people got some value out of it, and definitely part two coming in the near future. Cam, you'll set it up and we'll do it for sure.
Done no, done no.
You
So
got
I'll
it.
let
You
you
got it.
go for now, all right? So bless
Thank
up.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
everybody. Take care.
Yes, yes. Awesome. Wasn't that amazing, folks? Like I'm actually ecstatic. Like when it comes to crypto, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it, but really was able to get a lot of information. Wagwan, wagwan. See, it just came and we're shutting down slowly. But hello, folks. Oh, look at everyone here. I'm loving this. But definitely want to do a part two because I just think when it comes to the crypto world, my understanding is small, but I'm trying to make it associate with things that I understand, like stocks or businesses. So that's why I was able to get Tim to make it equal in things. But I'm definitely very happy that was coming through. It's Financial Literacy Month. I'm still doing my content creation. This week has been very crazy. So all I ask is for folks is to do a prayer for me and my family. I do have a family emergency that's been happening, but everything is on the come up. So if I haven't messaged you, it's not me. I'm family first at the moment. So yeah, big up yourself. But make sure, you know, especially this week, make time for your family, make time for the loved ones that you have. And if you haven't told someone or you haven't talked to someone in a while, just tell them you love them, you know? Um, thought about someone, send a text or something. But especially tell them that it's Financial Literacy Month. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and everything. And let's just continue having these discussions about personal finance because it is Financial Literacy Month. And every week I want to have something that's different that we haven't really discussed. So if you want to talk about more things about stocks, come hit me up. I'm more than happy to talk about that. But yeah, I gotta go and drink my other drink because I'm doing a detox and I am hungry. So on that note, folks, hold on. Oh, absolutely. I'll tell them about it. All right. But till next time, folks, I'll see you guys next week about another thing about personal finance. My belly is rumbling now. So until next time, peace out.
I just wanna be free with